I've got a plan. Health response to migrating nurses saga. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Janella Precious. Also this evening, man kills aunt in Clarendon and Black River Safari under threat. There's also sports commentary and weather in this newscast, but I'll have the news in detail after the break.
Mom knows best. KFC buckets. Available in Family 9, Party 15, and Party 21. It's all about that bucket life. KFC buckets. It's finger licking good.
We have it. Live. Days, weeks, months, and years. It's never too late. It's all in one spot.
Hey folks, good morning and welcome.
In food, drop in iFood on, make we see what we're going.
Live streaming from all brands, thousands of hours of video on demand. Discover the island's best by downloading the app or typing onespotmedia.com.
Welcome back to Primetime News and a special welcome again to our view on onespotmedia.com. I have it under control. That's according to Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, who was responding to a revelation by the Nurses of Association President Carmen Johnson about the exodus of local nurses. TVJ's Shamela Pullen explains.
Within the last 9 months, some 240 nurses have left the island seeking a better life in other countries. While making the disclosure on Friday, President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, Carmen Johnson, says this is a big hit to the local public health sector, which employs just over 3,000 nurses. But Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says while the government is concerned, he doesn't foresee any fallout in the delivery of healthcare through the migration of specialist nurses.
We have gaps, and those gaps can't be filled by training. We recruit and bring people in from overseas. As you know, we have a very active program with Cuba. So we have over nearly 300 nurses from Cuba in Jamaica. And we also have other countries from time to time that we recruit from to bring in to fill the gap.
Dr. Tufton also reiterated measures being implemented by the government to combat the massive migration of nurses.
So in the coming year, you will see more RNs, registered nurses, being trained because of scheduling adjustment, which allows batches to be taken in within a calendar year at different times. And then we have also increased the specialist training through bilateral arrangements. We have nurses right now in China doing clinical rotation for critical care.
In addition, the health minister also said that by year end into the new year, the country will see more nurses doing clinical rotation at Leeds Teaching Hospital in England.
Now, this is a result of the last year working to have bilateral arrangements, because part of the challenge with training more nurses is that we don't have the clinical space to give them the level of experience that is required, having done the classroom work. So the government is very sensitive to the challenge, and we have actually taken some steps to increase the cadre that we train, both at the RN level, but also, very importantly, at the advanced nurses training level.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Television Jamaica TVJ is rejecting assertions made by former National Security Minister Robert Montague that it was irresponsible in reporting on a story involving the Firearm Licensing Authority aired on Thursday evening. The story highlighted an individual of questionable character who was granted a firearm license after it was initially rejected by the previous Firearm Licensing Authority Board. At a media briefing yesterday, Friday, Mr. Montague rejected the assertions and accused TVJ of practicing irresponsible journalism. In a release this afternoon, TVJ, a member of the RJR Gleaner Communications Group, said the report did not breach any journalistic tenet, nor did it create any national security concern. The company says at the news conference yesterday, the minister did not identify any inaccuracy in the story. CEO of the RJR Gleaner Group, Gary Allen, adds that TVJ was not told that the charges against the man in question were dismissed by the courts as it would have been reported. He adds that the man in question left the island 8 months before the story was aired. The chief executive officer also noted that TVJ made attempts to get a comment from Mr. Montague on the matter. However, he did not respond to TVJ's inquiries. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Daryl Vaz, is denying that he recently breached security protocols at the Sangster International Airport in St. James. A letter of complaint against Mr. Vaz, purportedly written by a superintendent of police in St. James, has been circulating on social media that he breached airport security. Here's more in this report.
In the letter dated Wednesday, August 8, 2018, the police officer is alleged to have detailed an incident which occurred on July 22 at the airport. It stated Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Daryl Vaz, refused to have the licensed firearm of his relative inspected by the police in keeping with a standard operating procedure. The letter further indicated that Mr. Vaz instead handed the firearm to the pilot and then boarded the private aircraft and left for Kingston. However, 2 days after the letter was written, Mr. Vaz issued a statement arguing that on the day in question, he was advised by a port security officer that they could not board the aircraft with the firearm. He says he advised the port security officer that on his many flights from Montego Bay and Kingston, he has handed over the firearm to the pilot, which represented compliance with the standard operating procedure. He says the officer informed him that the protocol was unknown to her and called a supervisor. Mr. Vaz says the firearm was then handed over to the pilot in their presence. He says at no time were the police called. Mr. Vaz says he has written to the police commissioner rejecting suggestions of a breach of protocol. Our news center has been informed that an investigation into the incident was conducted by airport security officials. No breach is reported to have been found. The investigation reportedly found that Mr. Vaz had made arrangements for the firearm prior to his arrival at the airport. Report on the findings is to be submitted to the Commissioner of Police and the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority. Mr. Vaz is questioning the police investigation.
So what I don't understand is how the police would do an investigation without speaking or referring to the MBJ, which is the responsible agency for the airport. Something is not right. I think that is what needs to be investigated.
He's of the view that there's an attempt to destroy the government. I
think the bigger issue is a dangerous precedent that has taken place over the last few weeks, where members of the Andrew Holness-led administration have been targeted with innuendos, lies, and fake news. And I think it's pointing to a trend where the political operatives realize that they have no validity and therefore are using this as an attempt to undermine the legitimacy of the government.
Pullen, TVJ News.
Now, meanwhile, TVJ News obtained a copy of the MBJ report. It notes that following investigations, no breach of the airport security program and the specific protocol which articulates the procedure treating with the matter of conveying of firearms within the security restricted area of the port. The report also states that there was a declaration of the firearm as contained in the written report of the port security officer. Having interviewed the supervisor, it was discovered that she referenced the procedure from the old version of the protocol, which was revised on May 30, 2014. According to the MBJ, that old version had no distinction for treatment of firearms firearms between flights at the international and domestic terminal areas. The report further points out that there is no requirement to seek the intervention of the police to check and verify firearms at the domestic terminal area. Further, the supervisor indicated that she was not aware that the firearm was already declared. The level of uncertainty surrounding the event was further exacerbated as the pilot was not at the security checkpoint on the arrival of the supervisor to clarify the pertinent issues at hand. The MBJ says based on the report submitted, interviews conducted, it found no breach on the part of Minister Vaz or the pilot. It, however, found a trail of misunderstanding, improper application of procedures, and unfamiliarity with the contents of the security protocol. A series of familiarization with the contents of the procedure is now underway within the ranks of the PSC. The increase in the number of children in need of care since the start of the summer holidays has forced the Child Protection and Family Services Agency to make adjustments to children's homes to accommodate them. That declaration was made by State Minister in the Ministry of Education, Floyd Green. TVJ's Kalisha Williams reports.
It's the summer holidays and school is out. So with no homework or extra lesson, children seem to have a lot of free time on their hands, so much so that some of them end up in trouble. At least that's according to State Minister in the Education Ministry, Floyd Green.
So we remind parents that they have an overall responsibility to ensure the safety of their children. And we know some can pose difficulties in scheduling.
He pointed out that the ministry has noticed an increase in the number of children in need of care and protection during the summer holidays, and as such, some of them end up in state care.
It's something that we have had to look at. We've had to forecast, especially in relation to the numbers and the number of spaces we have. We've had to really increase our family reintegration plans for children who are in care that we believe can go back into family, so that we have space to take additional children that are coming into care.
Another issue too is the increase in children drinking alcohol over the summer break. He says parents should take responsibility.
I think we've worked with a number of the ministries and to say that we have to have a strict policy in relation to our children and in relation to our children participating in a number of activities. We do have a legal drinking age, and we expect not only our shops and bars to maintain that, but also our events that are held at this time. And most importantly, we expect our parents to understand that more than it being a legal issue, we have to allow our children to grow up at a certain pace.
Mr. Green was guest at a back-to-school fair in Clarendon recently. Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
The main attraction on the Black River Safari, the crocodiles, appear to be under threat, and that's because of the volume of activity now on the river. TVJ's Kirk Wright explains.
Touring the Black River Safari can be a breathtaking experience. Joseph Charles Swaby, the man who started the Black River Safari in 1987, says not all the changes since then have been positive.
We have seen in some of the species of vegetation along the river. We have seen damage done to some of the fish stocks.
Lloyd Linton, operator of the Iris Safari, says some of the other changes could start impacting their livelihood in a serious way. The crocodiles are some of the main attractions on the river, and the operators are complaining they're seeing less of them in recent times. That was communicated to the Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett in a meeting this week.
There's some talk that the crocodiles are being displaced because of the number of boats that are going up the river. They're creating a problem for the crocodiles, and they're seeing less and less crocodiles on each trip.
The minister says it's critical that every operator starts seeing to the protection of the reptiles.
People come to see the crocodiles. They come to witness something that they don't see very many places. And the young people, the children, they want also to. And when you are on the river and you can't find a crocodile, that's a problem. So we want to encourage the culturing and the nurturing of the crocodiles.
He says the fishermen must be more caring and ensure the crocodiles don't get trapped in their nets.
We do have many cases that we are told of crocodiles being hooked and falling into fishing nets and so on, and choking to death.
The issue of licensing will be dealt with to ensure accountability and order on the Black River Safari. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
One man has been taken into police custody for chopping his aunt to death in Clarendon on Thursday. The victim has been identified as 49-year-old Doreen Francis from Peace River in the parish. It's understood that sometime Thursday afternoon, Miss Francis and her nephew had an argument at their home in Peace River when she was chopped multiple times.
In get a cut out in a head, I see out on the road. I come like in run go down this lady down there go drop next door. And the youth go down there finish chopping up. And got her too.
I spoke on the phone to her last week Sunday and we have a good conversation on the phone. So I don't know what. It is a sad moment now.
Miss Francis died while undergoing treatment at a hospital. The police say later that evening the suspect was nabbed in a section of the community. Over in Negril, a businessman is in hot water this evening after several breaches were uncovered at his establishment. Local government minister Desmond McKenzie joined chairman of the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, Bertel Moore, on a tour of the area. We have more in this report.
A resort town in a shambles.
We've been getting complaints about the filthiness of the town, the shabbiness of the town, the dirtiness of the town. And that's why we call the minister responsible, not just to write and complain, but to actually let him come and see for himself.
The touring team didn't have to go far, as from very early into their walkthrough, breaches of the Town and Community Act were blatant. Notices were served on persons doing business on the roadside. But perhaps the most glaring for Savlamar Mayor Bertel Moore was the condition of a well-known supermarket in the town.
There are things that we have seen inside with expiry dates on them. From March, there are some things in there expire from the month of March, and now we know it's August, and they are still on the shelf. And what beats me more than all is the baby food. When someone come in, do not look at the expiry date, go home and give it to their little babies. Anything can happen to those children.
The owner was not present, but there were concerns raised about some of his staff.
And I can't find a work permit with them as yet. I can't find a food handler's permit for them to ensure that when we come back on Monday, they are all ready for me to see them.
If the breaches are not corrected by Monday, according to the mayor, the business will be ordered closed. Nick Dawkins, TVJ News.
We take a break. International stories are next.